This is the Inclusion Think Tank podcast, brought to you by New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Education, where we talk about inclusive education, why it works, and how to make it happen. On today's episode, I welcome my guest, Arvin Arjona, a fine arts teacher of dance. This is part one of our conversation, where Arvin shares what inclusive education means to him and the benefit that inclusive education can have on all students. I would like to welcome everyone back to another episode of the Inclusion Think Tank podcast, brought to you by New Jersey Coalition for Inclusive Education. I am your host, Arthur Aston, and I am back today with a brand new episode with my guest, Arvin Arjona. And Arvin, I am so happy that you are joining us today. You were one of the NJCIE honorees for 2022. So we've had a chance to catch up with each other at the Teachers Convention back in November, and introduced myself to you back then. So I'm happy to have you on as a guest on the podcast today. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. No, I'm honored. The pleasure's mine.
Yeah. So as part of your NJCIE honoree video, it was shown that you are a dance teacher. And I really thought that was, really cool, really great. So in addition to being a dance teacher, can you share a little bit about yourself and tell us who you are?
So I'll say this much. When I was a kid, I did sports, martial arts also on top of that. Now martial arts is part of the sport world too, but those are part of my life and everything. Got me through a lot of struggles, because I know in school I was struggling, overall. So didn't know anything about learning disabilities, nothing. Catholic school doesn't cover that, not their fault. It's just their school system and everything. And I know Catholic schools have gotten better because special education has been researched, and all the people from our generation, even me as growing up, I'm so happy that where like the struggles we all went through, people took the time to say, oh, we got to stop this and just say, let's move on and let's get the help for everybody that needs it. Appropriate help. That's the most important thing. In college, I took a modern dance class. So this is where my journey starts to begin. I took modern dance, took it literally. And I thought modern meant like what we did in the clubs and stuff. And when I found out I was doing like Alvin Ailey and Martha Graham, I'm like, ooh, what is this? But I was like, wait a minute, I did have a passion for this. I always wanted to take technical dance like tap, ballet, jazz when I was a kid, but my parents didn't have the money back then. It's okay. And when I got this opportunity to do this, at the college I was at the 2-year school I was at, this was such an eye opener for me and door opener, that I could also revert back to like my learning disability I did not know at the time. Same college, there was a reading teacher there, professor took the time out of her office hours and retested me, and then found out I had dyslexia. And I dealt with that for so many years, and I have no fault. I never ever blame my teachers in the high school and the child study team in my high school. They did their best, but I think they just didn't give me the appropriate testing. And they could say, honestly, they didn't know what was wrong with me. And I was still struggling with school. And you'll hear stories about that by many people, and many I've encountered that I've talked to that had similar experiences that I have. Because like I said, back in those times, they didn't have all the resources yet. Special education was still new in the 90s and everything. So after I took that dance class, I had these two professors changed my life, and that's what makes the difference in anyone's life. You find that your mentors, you become. I'm going to use a Star Wars reference, that I'm their Padawans and they were my Jedi masters, and eventually I became their Jedi Knights, and I feel like I'm that master now of both of them, and honor them through what I do as an educator to this day and stuff. So big Star Wars fan myself. That's why I reference that. I could go Star Trek too, but this is such an easier way of going through education wise and stuff. But about me, it's just overall, it's taking on challenges. And then once you find out like you could overcome these challenges and figure out how to do it, is even the best part of what who I am and stuff. And like I can't do it without family. Obviously, I can't do it without my wife for the 20 years I've been married with her. Also, always supporting me and hearing all the stuff that goes on as I was a special education teacher and now I'm a dance educator. And the reason why I became a special educator is when I was in high school, I said I cannot have a child go through what I did, what I went through. And luckily, over the years, so much stuff has opened up for students of all different type of abilities. And I'm so happy to see that. And there's still more to do, honestly. And like let's revert back to inclusion. Inclusion's still a baby in this country. And I feel like there's not enough. And there is, it's not done right. I'm not trying to be the master of inclusion, but me myself, it took all these years to figure out how to do an effective inclusion class as an educator, as someone that never had that opportunity in school. I probably was having inclusion, didn't even know that was happening because it didn't help me as a student at the time. Like I said, no blame goes to anybody. It's the education system at the time, and what what do you call it, the tools that were available for these poor educators. They didn't have many back then. So now a lot of us have it, but it's how to utilize those tools with using the appropriate tools for that specific individual. That's why they're called IEPs or individual education plans, and 504. Got to help those students out too that have that 504. So, but what's appropriate is the most important for that person. So, and like reverting back, yes, I'm like what do you call this? I feel like I still have my own IEP and I'm living by that. And I like encourage that IEP because it kind of is your identity as you go through life. And like I'm turning 50 this year, amazingly. And I was like, wow, I still have a lot to learn. Even as I'm teaching, I feel like I mastered things. I was like, wow, there's still more to learn. I still learn a lot from my students. That's the best part of being an educator right now. Um, is learning from your students and stuff. To describe what I am, I'm still an open book, but I know I mastered certain things in my life. So
That's one of the reasons why I love having being able to host this podcast to hear different people's stories and um, the way that they were led into the education profession and their stories of growing up and the experiences that they've had and what led them to teaching and educating others and I also appreciate what you said about with your upbringing and not being diagnosed with dyslexia until later on, but also not placing any blame on the teachers and the child study team of when you were in school um, because as you said, things were limited back then, and they did the best they could with what they had available to them. And it's one of those things. It's the quote is, "When you know better, you do better." And they,
correct.
it's a lot easier, and because things have changed and things have improved so much, so they're able to make those diagnoses of dyslexia and other diagnoses a lot earlier now because the tools and um, the research and everything has gotten so much better since since you were in school and since so many others were in school. So thank you for sharing all of that with us. And so the next question I have for you is, what does inclusive education mean to you?
So even me as an educator, I am like what it means to me, it means the world to me because it gives an opportunity for someone like when like I'm referring back to my years of school. I know some kids that were classmates of mine. Just if they had inclusive education, it would have opened the door to them to different other avenues and stuff. I'm glad a lot of them that those specific people I'm talking about found their niche, which was great. So, but that's something they had to do on their own. They struggled to find their own, and it took a couple years to find their niche. But inclusive education, it's the reason why it's so important. It just provides that opportunity for everyone with different type of abilities, regardless of where you are. Let's use autism. Regardless wherever you're in the spectrum, inclusive education to me feels like, especially for that population, because we that's what we that's who we educate mostly in the public school systems here in America. But when we do get someone that has Down syndrome, or that is other things, or multiple disabilities, it just provides that open door um for that person to have an education with the population of the people of the place they live in. And that's something that's why inclusive education is so important to me, because if students, even when like the school district I'm in, and something that I love what they do is they start at kindergarten right there and then. And they and at kindergarten, doesn't matter what abilities they are, even to the lowest, I see students help each other out. And I see it at the high school. It's so evident because they started so low in the kindergarten level. Even pre-K, I heard too, they do it. With obviously pre-K is tough because some kids are still in the early intervention programs. But once they get out of that, I'm telling you, a lot of the kids are so accepting of different abilities. Even kids that don't have the IP, the what I call the 504, the ones that are just on the cusp that needs that extra, just that needs that extra little thing. Being in that inclusive environment helps them so much. And if you have what they call the co-teaching model in a lot of the classes, which we have at the school district I'm at, inclusive education, just the way it has improved over the years and doing the appropriate way of doing it, I feel a lot of students benefit from it. Yeah, we're going to lose a few here and there because it's not appropriate for them, or they just need that extra instruction, that, or just a way of doing it. But inclusive education just in general, it's not just why I feel like it's important, but it's also, how like that term they say, you got to get your foot in the door type of thing. This gives them their foot in the door. And also, like, I'm gonna quote this from a what he calls Fresh Prince episode. He was talking to Mr. Uncle Phil himself, and something I tell my college students at Rutgers about this. A lot of these kids feel like they have one roller skate on their feet and they're still trying to catch up. But I feel like inclusion gives that other roller skate and they can keep up. That's why I feel like um inclusive education gives that equal advantage to get the same education these students get. And like, and then that concept they say, the least restrictive environment, that's where that actually happens. And that's what why inclusive education is so important to me, because that's what defines what that least restrictive environment is. We don't know what that was. I'll be honest with you, when I was doing my undergrad for special education, we had no clue what that meant. No matter how much our professors tried their best to explain it to us, we're like, but there's no example. That was the problem. There was really no true example. But when
Right.
inclusive education became a big thing here in the country, thank God it happened, because it's like I said, it's still a baby. It's not that many years inclusive education. There was not so much emphasis on it till recently. That's how I feel and stuff. So, but yeah, I had no clue what the least restrictive environment is, and now I know, because that's why inclusive education gives that extra skate to make the kids keep up with everyone else, and not just talking academically, socially too. And I see it in my inclusive classes when I teach. A lot of kids know each other. They're like, "Hey, what's up, man? Hey," and then they're not treating like because they have a specific disability. They treat it because they're treating them like who they are as a person, and that's another thing. The social aspect of it. The kids get to know each other socially and stuff. So, and that's why I feel like inclusive education, because there's a lot of emphasis on mental health, but I feel like inclusive education is the biggest key to keep maintaining that positive mental health for everyone in the school.
Yes,
So
and I think you really hit it home there with the social part of it, because it's it shows that someone I recently had on, they said that after kids graduate high school and go to college, and after college, there's no special education world. It's just the world.
yeah,
It's just the world, and we're all supposed to join this world together, and and interact and socialize and work together as coworkers, and meet up in the public at grocery stores and malls and things all together. And I think also another point that you said that's so important is starting it early, starting the inclusion early at the kindergarten level, preschool level, if possible. That is something that has been talked about on this podcast as well. So it is really so important to start it early, because then the children will learn about each other and their differences and disabilities, and what it, what it means for this child to have to use a wheelchair or to use a braces or
Hmm.
crutches, and or what happens with them because they are on the autism spectrum. And it's just so important to start it early. I think that was so important for to mention. And the impact that inclusion has on the social life of the students is something that it's not often talked about. So that was really great to say as well. So you started talking about it, how you had your class, your dance class, when you when you were in college. But how did you become interested in dance, and what style of dance do you like to teach, or that you is your favorite, and what style do you find that the students are most interested
Okay, so let's
in?
go back to Michael Jackson, watching him for the first time. And me entering in Michael Jackson competition. I got as far as regionals, but there were kids that were at a whole other level than I was at.
That's so awesome.
So yeah, that's what started me sparking. But what I realized with Michael Jackson, I was like, wait a minute, besides him being like a street dancer for gliding, for locking, popping, but he also has a jazz dance element to him. So I was like, wait a minute, I want to learn this stuff, be like him and everything. But like I said, the funds of my parents are immigrants to this country. They were just starting out, and it's amazing when I hear my dad tell me, "Oh, I only get made $1.50 an hour in the factory." It's like, wow, and it's that was a many Americans back in the into the 70s into 80s trying to make it, and a lot of them did a wonderful job. I mean, I'm here, so and I have they provide me with such a, like I said, the support system there, but they provide me with a roof over my head and food and get me to what I need to get to now. But going back, it was Michael Jackson, and I loved watching him. And also I was a fan of Bob Fosse, believe it or not. I don't know why I was watching Sweet Charity at 5 years old, but I saw it on TV. But it was there and I loved it. And my mom caught it. He's like, no, you can't be watching this. But I had when I watched Bob Fosse, and then I saw West Side Story for the first time when I was 10. That's where I fell in love with like dance. But I knew no funds. I said maybe later when I get older and stuff. So that's what got me started into that world. But living in Jersey City, I live here now. It's such a full circle thing now as an adult. Um, in downtown Jersey City, how us kids got off the streets, we played basketball and then we got the cardboard. We actually did that thing. I grew up in the 80s, so that's what we really did that. And we learned from each other. And like that, I mean, I know how to pop, I know how to lock, I used to be a decent break dancer because the thing back then, we just watch and learn type of thing. So I mean, we got hurt too at the same. That's like the skateboarders back then, the BMX people too. It was all happening at the same time too. We just watched and learned and did our best and stuff. So yes, we all got injured at one point, but we're young. We bounced back. I can't do that now at almost at 49 years old. But overall, yes. And then moving right along, when I did end up start taking modern dance in college and stuff, I fell in love with the whole area of the dance world and stuff. There's areas of modern dance that I'll say I have an open mind, and there's times where I'm like, wow, that could have been done earlier, like what the choreographer was trying to say and stuff. But you know what? It's still I feel like since I got exposed to that one other element. But because of all that and ballet, I also remember taking ballet early in high school. I did it just for like a few sessions because my coach's wife was a ballet teacher for ice hockey. So it actually made that's where everything ticked right there. It's like, wow, ballet helped me skate so much better and stuff. So and then when I realized that how much benefits ballet had, when I took modern dance, I took ballet, and then I became a dance major at this 2 year school I was at, and so which was amazing. And as I move along and learn all styles, and then when I got the chance to perform for 3 years, I did stop teaching for 3 years. I was on three national tours. Um, Footloose, Les Mis, and Chorus Line. I don't know how I got in Les Mis. I can't sing. So, but I learned how to harmonize. I had a wonderful, I'll say this much. I had a wonderful voice teacher there, and she got me in. My audition got me in. That's how I got in. That's what they always tell me to this day. And I recently have had reunions for all those three casts, which is wonderful to see everybody. And also I performed at Disney and Universal. So I had a nice performance, and I did all other little things here and there. But overall, now going to the last part of your question, hip hop dance is still the most popular dance for the kids today, because of K-pop, believe it or not, has emerged. And not just K-pop, Bollywood is very popular among the teenagers too. Not as much as the K-pop. The K-pop is huge now, but Bollywood is really big too. I mean, I have a big Indian population in my school, and that's what makes a lot of the kids, like a lot of my, and it's crazy because I'm the advisor to three clubs: the regular dance club, which is all styles, the K-pop crew, which is just K-pop, and then the Anda, they call it Anda's Dance Club, is the Bollywood traditional Indian club. So, what's very popular is the hip hop dance, and that's why when I teach my phys ed classes, because I have two classes, I have phys ed and fine arts. When I teach my phys ed class, I start off with hip hop because I have kids. There's some time it's elective in my school, but sometimes some kids are forced into my class, so I have to start off with the hip hop. So to answer that, yeah, the hip hop is huge. The kids love it. They see it on TikTok a lot, a
Right.
lot of the hip hop movements and stuff. And I told them I've been doing that since 1980. Don't even start with me.
Right.
We've been doing moves like that. When I taught a group of students that had half of them had spina bifida, and there was multiple disabilities on wheelchairs. I did hip hop with them, and they
Mhm.
had such a blast and everything. We didn't just do hip hop. We did stuff with we did like improvisation with like scarves, so to work on their fine motor
Mhm.
skills and stuff. And oh my god, I'll never forget that. That was part of my student teaching actually when I was at
Oh,
Jersey City State. And just they brought these students in, and some of them from A. Harry Moore School, which is not there anymore, unfortunately.
mhm.
And that's where I realized when I was student teaching there, even though those kids had multiple disabilities, they never gave up on trying to learn. That's something I'll never forget and everything.
Right.
And that school, I had a hard time in that school because I lost a student within 2 weeks of my junior practicum
Oh.
because of health issues. And
Mhm.
I was like, I cannot teach where I knew that area I couldn't teach because emotionally I couldn't handle it. Like
Mhm.
I Emily, Miss Little Emily, I'll never forget her. It's just this kid had so much against her, but she never gave up on. I mean, she died of cancer eventually, but she had everything. She just liked to learn, and I got her to improve from one level to the other in math. Is something I'll never forget. And socially, I asked the school itself, if I could bring like one of my college, can I have some of my college friends to come?
Mhm.
College students. There are going to be special ed teachers too. They say, yeah, sure. They just don't want to have too many adults in there for many reasons, because the
Mhm.
inconsistency of the people coming in and stuff. So I
Right.
totally get that. But overall, hip hop dance. I also taught her hip hop dance too.
Yeah, and it's really great how, again, how our experiences growing up, how they can influence, our future and
Yes.
what we choose to do in life as a job, as a career. And can you share? You've talked about it a little bit. Uh, with difficulties in learning and not really knowing, not having a diagnosis. But can you talk about how your own experience in your high school years had an influence on the way that you teach and interact with your own students now?
This concludes part one of my conversation with Arvin Arjona. Join us again in 2 weeks when our conversation continues and Arvin shares how his own high school experience continues to influence his teaching style today.